You know, the borders of a nation aren't just lines on a map. They're really the scars and triumphs of history, etched right into the land itself. They tell a story of ambition, of conflict, and of a relentless drive for destiny. So today, we're going to trace the dramatic evolution of the United States to really understand how this vast continent was claimed, shaped, and ultimately consolidated into the nation that we know.
And that question, well, it gets to the very heart of a country's identity. For the United States, the answer is this sweeping saga of expansion, one that unfolds over 2 centuries of truly dramatic change. Our story begins right on the edge of a vast, unknown continent, with a fragile foothold that would soon ignite a relentless push to the west. So, how did it all come together? Well, our journey starts at the very foundation, the original colonies. From there, we'll follow that great push westward, which is really a defining chapter in American history. Then we'll see how the final borders were forged through both treaties and conflicts. And finally, we'll look beyond the continent to see how the United States became the country it is today.
All right, our story starts on the rugged Atlantic coast. See, before the United States was even a nation, it was just this scattered collection of settlements. Each one had its own unique identity, but they were all united under a single foreign crown.
These were the 13 colonies. And when you look at them on the map, you can see they're just this narrow strip of civilization, really, sandwiched between the vast Atlantic Ocean and the formidable Appalachian Mountains. But this was more than just a collection of settlements. This was the incubator for a new kind of republic, a nation that would very soon challenge the old world order.
The American Revolution, of course, changed everything. The 1783 Treaty of Paris. This didn't just secure independence, it drew the first official borders of the United States, and it revealed the immense ambition of this young nation. All of a sudden, the territory didn't just hug the coast, it stretched all the way to the Mississippi River, opening up a vast interior that was just ripe for settlement.
You know, the ink on that treaty was barely dry before America's gaze turned westward. And what followed wasn't some gradual creep, but a sudden, audacious leap right into the heart of the continent, a move that would change the nation's destiny forever.
This was an absolutely pivotal moment. In 1803, President Thomas Jefferson saw an opportunity, and he seized it. He negotiated a deal with Napoleon's France that would fundamentally alter the course of American history. And this wasn't just a land deal, it was a strategic masterstroke that would shape the nation for centuries.
The sheer scale of this acquisition is, well, it's staggering. For just $15 million, the United States acquired 828,000 square miles of new territory. It was one of the greatest peaceful transfers of land in all of history, and with it, the path to the Pacific was suddenly wide open.
So the next chapter of this story unfolds with breathtaking speed and with profound consequences. The push to the Pacific became a national obsession, a relentless drive that would be realized through a potent mix of diplomacy, purchase, and outright war.
What's really fascinating about this period is the powerful idea that fueled it: manifest destiny. This was the widely held belief that American settlers weren't just expanding their territory, but that they were divinely ordained to spread their democratic institutions from sea to shining sea. It was a powerful and, to be sure, often controversial justification for the nation's relentless westward expansion.
And this expansion, it happened with incredible speed. In 1845, the Republic of Texas was annexed. The very next year, the Oregon Treaty with Great Britain peacefully established the northern border. Then, in 1848, the Mexican-American War resulted in the Mexican Cession, which added the vast territories of the Southwest. And finally, in 1854, the Gadsden Purchase solidified the southern border, completing what we now know as the contiguous United States.
Just think about that for a moment. In less than a single decade, from 1846 to 1854, the United States completely transformed its map, solidifying the shape that we recognize today. It was a whirlwind of events that propelled the nation from the Mississippi to the Pacific, creating the contiguous 48 states in what really feels like a flash of history.
But the story doesn't end at the Pacific Ocean. Not at all. America's ambitions were now global, and its cartographic story was about to expand far beyond its continental borders and onto the world stage, forging a new national identity in the process.
2 key acquisitions really marked this new era of global ambition. In 1867, you have the purchase of Alaska from Russia. Now, at the time, it was mocked as Seward's folly,
but it proved to be a strategic masterstroke, unlocking vast natural resources. Then in 1898, the annexation of Hawaii gave the United States a vital foothold in the Pacific, cementing its status as a true global power. And so, with these final acquisitions, the transformation was complete. The United States had evolved from a fragile collection of coastal colonies into a transcontinental powerhouse with a formidable global presence. The shape of the nation, as we know it, was finally set on the world map.
You know, the map we see today feels permanent, doesn't it? As if it's etched in stone. But as we've just seen, borders are anything but static. They're fluid, constantly being reshaped by the forces of their time. And this leaves us with a compelling question. As we look to the future, what new forces, political, cultural, or maybe even environmental, will write the next chapter in this nation's ever-evolving cartographic story?